Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you slept well. I hope you got your vitamins. I hope you're feeling rested and ready because we are about to have a bombs dropped on us from Ty Bailey.
What's up?
Ty's a great, a great teammate, a great guy to be in the trenches with. He's also a dear friend and a high-producing sales rep. So we're happy to have Ty on today and just be learning from you, brother. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
It'll be good. So kind of just hopping into it, before I met you, like I'd heard about you a little bit.
Yeah.
I actually knew your family because your dad was my JV basketball coach.
Yeah. I was your water boy.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Dude, but I remember your whole family. I remember when he was coaching at Spanish Fork.
Yeah.
Like
way back in the day, yeah.
My first high school game ever, I walked in and your dad was commanding the floor and on a bunch of guys like 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
So now, dude, those dudes are all like 40, bro. Like,
oh, yeah. The one's coaching Spanish Forks team now.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Garrett Johnson. He used to be coached by my dad at Spanish. So.
Oh, cool.
And now he's coaching Spanish. Full circle.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, but one thing I just I feel like your whole family might be good at, or I'm curious to where you learned it. When like my brother, my cousins, and other people started like mentioning your name to me, people would always be like, "I love Ty," and I didn't really ever hear anyone say anything like negative or bad about you, which I feel like sometimes rare to like not hear anything bad about someone. But I think I figured out why a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's just you're a really good team player, and I want to talk about how that transition to going into the doors, but just kind of like. Is that something that like was instilled into you young? Do you feel like a family dynamic? Was it something that you ran into and you learned? I mean, was there any like pinnacle moment that you're like,
yeah,
teamwork was always a staple
like
principle?
A focus, yeah, for sure. My mom and dad were huge on that when we grew up. Just make sure you're always standing up for other people, especially in basketball too. I think that was instilled in me as a kid. My dad would always tell me it doesn't matter who scores the basketball. Just you got to put the ball in the hoop and be happy for your teammates. So I think from a young age, I learned to be happy for other people, and especially my teammates playing basketball or football or whatever it was. And it wasn't anything fake. It was like something that I really do get excited when my friends do really good. So it was, yeah, just from a young age. I think my dad was a big part of that.
That's awesome, and it's so good for learning.
Yeah.
Well, all the different fields you jump into in life, people that can go in genuinely happy for others, it takes out, I think, a lot of the comparison of like, am I doing okay? Like, is this working out? It's more of like, oh, he's killing it. I'm going to kill it too.
Yep.
And just kind of instills a positive vibe. And I've always felt that from you. So I've never told you that, but I've just perceived that and felt that.
Yeah, thanks.
And I think that's a great skill that you have. As far as like team building and stuff like that, I know like last year was your first year kind of going out and selling. And maybe we'll get into your history a little bit before I ask this question. So walk us forward on your entrepreneur roller coaster.
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of dive in and ask some of the questions I have prepared. But like, how did you get your start in sales? What were some of the things that drew you to it?
That's a great question. Honestly, like after I got home from my mission, I told myself the whole mission, I was like, I'll figure out what I want to do by the end of it. And I still, when I got back, I was like, I still have no idea what I want to do. So I was like, all right, we'll start some school, go to UVU, get my generals. And then I wasn't really feeling anything. And then Oakland kind of reached out right when I got home and was just, well, he had been talking to me about it when I was on the mission, just telling me about it. And it kind of intrigued me. I was like, that's cool. Like, you're making some good money just going door to door. So I tried it. I was like, I took a little meeting with him, and I was like, yeah, let's just do it because I don't know what I'm going to do. But I told myself I'd never do sales. I always tell people this. And then I was like, well, I trust Dawson. I trust Oakland. So let's just send it. You got a great reputation around here. So
no, dude, I appreciate that. Well, and it's funny, too, how, like, when you go from, like, younger years of like high school mission to like then jumping in the workforce.
Yeah.
I think it's funny when you hear about some of your friends that are doing well, or like you're like, dude, like you're like so and so's killing it, they're like,
Yeah.
oh, dude, that's gonna give me reassurance that I'm gonna go
I
do
can
well.
do it. Yeah.
I remember I would always hear about how like my friends that were out selling were doing when I was back on my mission, or when I like got home, and I'm like, okay, like
Yeah.
it's not something crazy. If they're all doing it, I think I can too, and it provides a level of reassurance that I think's like nice or comforting.
Oh yeah, for sure.
As far as like just kind of, I mean, I watched more of your sales journey through the leaderboard, and we just had our company cruise where we all went out and chilled in the Bahamas, and it's fun to put like names to faces.
Oh yeah, it's kind of weird sometimes too.
Yeah, you're like, dude, that was the sales tyrant. He kind of looks funny, or like, oh, that, like, I thought he was gonna be like, look like this or this, because like we have all the stock images of like a Shrek or of like a different avatars that everyone has.
I thought, shout out to Oscar. I thought he was like 6'4" when I saw him on the leaderboard, like his picture and stuff. I was like, oh, he looks like he's like 6'4", 6'3", football plair.
Just a
he's a great guy. I love Oscar.
and he is muscular.
He is.
He's accentuating what he's got.
Mm-hmm.
No, shout out to Oscar. That's funny. Well, no, but yeah, it's just cool. Like, I don't know, having those like sideline people to kind of guide you along and push you and motivate you. Yeah. Was there someone this year that when you saw their name creep up on the leaderboard that you're like, you got a little extra like fire underneath your feet, that you're like, okay, I'm gonna go out and get it? For me, there was always someone every year, like when someone was selling, I'd put a little extra attention, focus. Did any of that competitiveness like come into that?
For sure, yeah. There's always a competitive side to it. For me, it was me and David Jones would always push each other a little bit. I'd always try to catch David or just text him during the day and be like, hey, I'm going to catch you, bro. Like, keep grinding, but I'm going to catch you. And, Joe Anderson, I saw his name a lot. That would always pop up, and I'd be like, oh, I got to beat Joe today. Like, I don't even know the guy, but I gotta kick his butt. And he kicked mine a little bit, but.
No, and you guys all did great. And that was actually one of the things that I think this year was so magical.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a lot of people in a similar selling zone. This was like doing the end of year competitions, like the brawl competition.
Yeah.
It was one of the funner years for me, just because I felt like there were so many people neck and neck.
Oh yeah, it was close. Yeah.
And dude, holding the like, waving the white flag waving like the checkered flag at the end of like each round was so tough for me, because it's like there's like.
You got to see how many went through.
The couple $100 differences. Yeah. Like there's so many nailed by. Like was everything there squared away on the document side? And it was one of my favorite competitions, just because there was so many competitive people just firing, and everyone was so close.
Yeah. And
you hung. What round did you go?
I don't know what round it was, but I lost by like $200, and it was because I had 2 sales at the very end of the night that they were like set, and then that morning they called, and it was like a mosquito, and it was 2 accounts, and they canceled it. I was like, oh no, and then I look at I pull up the numbers. I'm like, oh, I just lost by $100. Like, I'm done.
Oh,
dude. I was so mad.
No, and those competitions are fun, dude. And it sucks when you are getting into a deeper round, because like whatever the next round is just an awesome prize.
Yeah,
a good way to pick it up. But let's jump back into your sales journey a little bit. So coming out and starting, day one, like, I mean, generally people are pretty nervous. Do you feel like it was like? I feel like you're a fairly calm guy. Like you don't get overly worked. Like, was it nerve-wracking for you?
Yeah, I mean, I actually do get really stressed. Maybe I'm good at hiding it. That day I was not stressed at all, because I was like, I just get to go watch Oakland sell. I don't have to do anything. And so I was just following him around, and it was actually really fun seeing him talk to a lot of people and get the door slammed in his face too. It was pretty funny. But yeah, I would say the second day when I first started, that was pretty nerve-wracking. But it was, at the end of the night, actually, my first day, Oakland's like, all right, you're going to do this one. I was like, oh, okay, we'll see how this goes. Knocking at that guy's door like 9 at night. And I got a little help from Oakland, but we sold him my very first door. So that was a cool experience.
Oh, dude, that's really reassuring. Just to feel that. Like, if you get a sale early in the day, it can definitely change the temperature of how the rest of the whole situation is going to go. One of the cool things, too, Oakland called me after, we generally would talk after like he trained a lot of people and stuff like
Right.
that. But I remember specifically talking about you. I remember him being so re-energized or excited. He's like, Ty's gonna kill it. He's like, it was awesome. And for those of you that have trained, training can sometimes be a kind of a draining or tough experience because sales already, it's stressful. Then you have someone watching you, and it's nerve-wracking because you're like, I don't want to screw up.
Right.
But like, I've seen very few times someone be so energized or so hyped. So I believe you when you guys said it was like a fun, good time. Cause
Yeah, it was.
hearing it from you and from him, both sides were saying that that was an uplifting experience.
Yeah.
Cool. And as far as like, let's talk a couple like soft closes. We're doing a training actually tonight about like a bunch of different ones and stuff like that. And I'm curious to know, like, for those listening or starting out, a soft close is basically a way in which you can put weight on the customer to buy, but it's without directly asking. Or hard closes like, will you do it? Or
Right.
what time worked better for you?
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite soft closes that you kind of threw into your pitch or learned over time, or maybe ones that aren't as talked about that you're like, I enjoyed this close?
Yeah. I think one of them is just kind of like the assuming close, where you just kind of walk them through it. You don't even like have a set point where you're like, all right, are you doing this or not? It's just like all right, like, what's your email? You know, like, you just like signing them up as you're going through the pitch. I think I did that one for most of my sales were like that. It was, yeah. I don't know about another one.
It's funny. I was working with a rep yesterday
Yeah.
on this, on like his pitch. We were going through like pricing, intro, service.
Yeah.
And what the funny thing about being assumptive or that close is, it's a great connector through all of them. And if you're not doing it, I just think it's very tough to have a great pitch.
Yeah.
And I think people are still scared to do it. I actually was working with a rep that's been in the industry. I'm not even going to say how many years because people might figure out how it is, but several years.
Yeah.
And we were going through the pitch, and the lack of like assumptive energy was crazy to me because to be a high producing rep, or even as high producing as he was, without that skill, I'm like, do what you could have done or what you can do.
Yeah.
There's a reason, and it's the first book in ABCs of Closing. There's a reason it's one of the very first ones that people talk to, because having a mentality that things are going to work out is just so important.
Yeah. Just kind of acting like they already, I mean, it's a great service, so why wouldn't they want it? It's just assume it.
Well, and I also think too, assume like an assumptive language or energy, or acting like the customer is going to buy.
Yeah.
It allows not just your imagination to believe that it's true, but it also allows the customer or the other person that's listening to you to start imagining like, okay, what will it look like when the technician shows up tomorrow? Or, oh yeah, like he's not gonna ask me. Yeah, like freak. Yeah, well, like, is it with an option close? It's like, should I do it this time or should I do it that time?
Yeah.
There's just so much, I think, power into it that it isn't even what you're saying. It's where it puts the person's headspace.
Yeah, and that's what I would usually do. Just kind of assume it until they usually give an objection, and that's when you kind of try to just roll through the smoke screen, focus on something else, or kind of got to be a little adaptable. The bandwagon close was always huge as well. Just making sure, like, hey, like, you got all these people here that are doing it, so might as well do it too.
100%. Look, I want to ask you this. I think a lot of times when people get into sales, we all think of like used car salesmen with like goatees, with like gelled and spiked hair that like are gonna lie to you and say whatever to try and get you to purchase whatever. Were there some things before when you were starting your sales journey that you're like, I'm apprehensive to do this because maybe I'm not the most well spoken, or maybe I'm not, like, maybe rejection stuff for me? I know, like, when I first got in, that was one that, like, I didn't think of it beforehand, but it hit me pretty hard when I started. Was there something like that kind of like, going in, I was nervous about this, or when I started, this was tough, or what were some things that you had to overcome or kind of look at to, I mean, become the salesman that you are?
Man, I was pretty ready to handle objection, like, just because of the mission. I was already used to rejection, so it was like, as long as I can just knock on the right doors and find the right people, I wasn't too worried about it. I guess I was a little I don't look the part exactly as a typical sales guy, I guess you could say.
Hey, wait, what do you mean by that?
I'm a little bigger of a guy. Like, I was always like, oh man, like I'm not as good looking at these guys. I never really cared that much. But
Stop, bro. You're beautiful. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I never really cared that much, though. That's kind of what my mindset was going into it. I remember you telling me when we were at our brunch at Brunch House or whatever with Oakland in our recruiting meeting, you're like, dude, I saw this one guy. He was, 350? Like, huge guy, and he would throw down. And I was like, doesn't matter who I am. I can throw down.
Well, and I always tell people every shape, size, ethnicity, weight class, whatever it is, I mean, you can make it happen.
Yeah.
And that's what I think makes the arena so fun is like no matter like what prior skill set you have in life, if you go into it with a focused mind, you can come out a champion in door-to-door sales.
Oh, yeah, for sure. One of the biggest things I think you said to me, it was you or Oakland, I can't ever remember, but you said sales is just a transfer of energy. And that kind of hit me actually before I went out on the doors. Because it's like if you just have a positive attitude, that energy is going to be transferred to them. And they can feel it. They really can. Sometimes I would knock my first door and I'd be like, I had no energy in that interaction. And they were super quick to not listen. So I think a lot of it is just being able to be upbeat. Obviously be yourself and not fake it, but just trying to be as happy as you can while you're knocking doors. And
I feel like you at least give a very calm demeanor in problems, like when like people are freaking out or like there's things that happen. Is like, was there a prior experience or maybe did you see that in sales helping you? Like okay, like when people are restless, I do X, or like I need to slow my cadence down or my breath to like continue through hard times. Like what are those things? Because everyone runs into problems, whether it's your first year or your 25th. Right. Like, does that make sense? Or
yeah. I think if this was you're asking, like one of the things that I would do is if people are kind of more like timid at the start, I try to get an icebreaker going while doing my pitch. So like one thing I would like, the big thing I would say always is like, look at my scooter, and I'd give a little chuckle, and sometimes I would get people to laugh. Or one of my favorite stories actually is I was using my scooter all day. And I drive up to this area, and I'm like, you know what? My scooter's almost dead. I want to save it because this is like a really tight road. So I was like, I put it in my trunk. First door, I knock on it. I'm like, hey, like, sorry to bother you. And I was like, yeah, I'm just, here with I don't even remember how I said it, but I was just like, pointed to my scooter, and it wasn't there. And he was like, huh? And I just started laughing. I was like, dude, I swear I have my scooter here. I usually have it. It was funny.
My prop's gone, dude. Yeah. No, that's great though that was like that big of a reflex, because that's a great opening line and it's a great way to bring people down.
Yeah.
And the thing is, did it help in that sale? Did it help in that moment?
It did help. I didn't get the sale, but he definitely, we were, I wouldn't say friends, but we were chill after that.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, who's this guy at my door? He was kind of like, he closed the door, he walked outside, so it was,
Well, and being able to laugh at yourself in sales, I think, is super important, because you're gonna run into situations, like there's so much unknowns behind every door, and I think people that take themselves too serious, you're running into a situation that has so many question marks around it.
Yeah.
But the one thing is, sales is a numbers game, so if you just submit happily to the process, eventually you're gonna get the candy that you need.
Yeah.
But just being willing to have fun, and I think laughing gives you the ability to bounce back faster.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. There was plenty of times where I would say something like just weird on the doors or mess up a name drop or something, and then I would like, after not getting the sale, I'd just be like, what did I just say? Like, okay.
I love too when it goes right. Like you say something kind of stupid, but the customer's like, yeah, that was great, dude. And you're like,
that's so true.
You're like, I'm glad that worked, dude.
That's so true.
Let's talk about like some of maybe your favorite experiences on the doors. Is there maybe a customer that left you with a funny experience? Is there maybe one you heard from the office? Is there something that you're like, this was just a cool, maybe repetitive thing that you found from across the board?
Yeah. Oh man, a cool, funny experience. That scooter one was pretty good. I had a lot of really cool interactions with customers. Like I got to meet a lot of really cool people. A lot of people. One of my favorite ones was, it was at the end of the night, and I was just like, you know what? For this last door, I'm just gonna try this country accent, see what happens. Like I had tried it a couple times when I'd get stressed. I'd just do a little country accent to lighten my mood, and so I tried it, and these two little kids opened the door, and I was like, oh, like started pitching them in a country accent, and they were like just staring at me, and they were like, Mom. They grabbed their mom, and she comes out, and I ended up selling the family. Long story short, but
And you maintain accent the whole time.
Oh, the whole time, and I had never gotten through the whole pitch like that, so I was kind of like, I hope I still sound like, and I hope they don't ask me where I'm from, because I have no idea what I'm gonna say.
You just pitched this family like Matthew McConaughey style,
Yeah.
and just closed it. That's awesome.
They invited me to the house. They were all like, all the kids after I left, they were like, can I give you a hug? The mom's like, yeah, give him a hug. I was like, okay. It was so funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's when you get them on like the Christmas card list or something like that.
That's right.
Just
yeah.
to keep tabs. Have you ever had a customer like follow you on Instagram or like add you on Facebook or like reach out after being like, hey,
Yeah,
thinking of you?
Yeah. That would be crazy. I haven't had that yet. I did have a guy that he was super nice, super cool guy. He even like, his wife was kind of like bed sick, and he even got her like out of bed and to come meet me, and she was like super cool. But he got my number, and he was actually trying to get me. He was like job offering me to work for him, and
Oh, and you get a lot of that in the doors. Everyone's looking to give you a new job.
yeah, that's true. But this guy was like set on it. He was like, man, you have such positive energy, man. You can come work with me. Like, we help people do this and this, and just help them out and make sure they're happy. And I was like, oh, like, okay, like, yeah, maybe.
Dude,
let's get the credit card first.
yeah. You're like there, and then like you got that quarterly subscription signed.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I think a big part of door to door is actually what you do off the doors.
Mm-hmm.
I've been shocked at a lot of different things, like sleeping well, or eating right, or like being successful in a sport. And door to door is no different. I feel like what you do off the field translates really big to like on the field. What are some staple things that you do off the field that impact your like on game or in game?
Yeah, I think just staying in the right mindset a lot of the times, making sure I'm mentally there, especially when I go out on the doors. I mean, we'll see with the second season coming up, but I think sales is a lot of like mental. I think you got to be really mentally tough. Like physically, yeah, but you ride around on a scooter all day, so it's like. But if you're mentally tough, I think anybody can do sales as long as you can grind out a 3-4 month summer. It's not. I mean, it's hard, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. Well, I also felt like too late in the season, I felt like you were one of those guys that still kept your head. A lot of people fall apart in August or their numbers dip or stuff, and I felt like you were still producing at a high level like at the end of the summer.
Yeah.
Who was someone before your sales journey that maybe you thought on your past experiences a lot that impacted you when you're in sales? Like, oh, like for me, I always thought about my grandpa. Like a lot of like the advice he gave me, like it was weird. I felt like he came like an angel on my shoulder all the time, being like this advice or that, or like, and there was other people too.
Yeah.
But was there someone that like maybe was out of your sales journey that taught you some lessons that dramatically impacted your success?
Man, that's a great question. I don't know. I don't know, because my mom and dad never did sales, or any of my like family members, extended family members. It was never a thing that they've done really. So
were they apprehensive for you doing sales because of that?
Yeah, my dad was so excited. Actually, he was so excited about it. My mom was excited for me, but she was also like, hey, you know how like this isn't forever, right? I was like, no, it's not. Like,
She's like, you're gonna get a real job, right?
But I mean, 3 weeks into the summer, I called my family a ton. So that was a huge thing for me. I would call my family, my sister, brother, mom and dad. My mom got really excited though in the middle of the summer. I'd call them at night and she'd be like, how much did you make today? I'm like,
well, dude, and having people excited for you like that, it adds
huge.
so much. Like a positive, whether it's familial or romantic or or friend that just gets excited about your success. Like it just, I don't know, dude. It just adds. Like I remember when I'd go home from summers and I'd tell my friends or my family like how much money I made, and seeing some of how some of them would light up would just like. I was like, dude, that's even better than like when I got like the sale.
Yeah.
Like,
it's cool.
And so if you're listening, I think having someone like that in your corner, or just keeping good convos with people like that are cheering on the side, dude, it can make a huge difference.
Yeah, and having like a why too. Like that was one of my whys. I also had like some other whys that were like more like revenge based. Like,
oh, dude, wait,
nothing crazy. Like, I remember one of the first meetings, Oakland, and I think Ryan, he had Ryan do it. He was like, you got to figure out your why. Like, let's write them down right now. And I was like, oh, man. And I remembered this kid that he told me, I was in a Provo ward, and I was in, like, the bishopric meeting, and I was like, yeah, like, I'm going to move out. And the guy's like, what are you doing? One of the first counselors. And I was like, I'm gonna go do sales. I'm going to try it out. And he's like, oh, dude, you're not going to make any money. You're not gonna make any money. And I was like, okay, like, sorry, you know.
Yeah.
And so I wrote that down. I was like, I'm not gonna say his name, but I was just like, all right, I'm doing this for him. Like, still haven't seen the guy,
but no, dude, I still remember like when people would like tell me like you can't do X or Y.
Yeah.
And it's funny how like in a positive way, like. Sometimes when you're like down and out there, or like when I also felt more like it came to me when I was doing well. Like when I was doing well out there, I'm like, take that,
yeah.
So and so that said I wouldn't be able to do X or Y or
That's
Z.
right.
Actually, there was a time when I was meeting with a guy at a different company, and we were in this meeting, and I told him what my goal was, and he told me, "There's no way you're gonna be able to do that," and I was like, do you want to make a bet on it? And so we shook hands, and he's like, you won't be able to do that, which was a horrible recruiting method, like telling people that you couldn't do something.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But
that's crazy.
I shook his hand, and then like at the end of the summer when I hit my goal, or what the goal that me and him set, I was like, hey, just wanted to let you know, like I sold X, like and I didn't want to like say anything else.
Right.
And then he's like, great job, man. And
No
he didn't
way.
say anything. But luckily, we had a mutual friend, and the mutual friend actually reached out to him, and he's like, "Hey, pay up, you freaker!"
Pay up, yeah.
and so it was pretty fun. But like,
that's hilarious.
Dude, the money I made on the bet was important. I honestly wasn't even trying to cash in on it. I just kind of was like, but like, those words, like, they really can
motivate
and let's talk about building a why for a second. For me, like, there was two things my first summer home for my mission that really pushed me, like, that really I feel like helped me weather storms, helped me do hard things. One, I had an opportunity to make passive income, and when I heard that I could like live off interest and not have to get like a job, like, and at the time the amount of money that I heard if I had a 6-figure exit and was able to put that money away, there was an opportunity where I could make a couple thousand bucks, like a month.
Right.
And I remember hearing that, and I was like, dude, I could retire. Like, I was like, I could go to McDonald's. I could like, I could do my basic things every month, and I could like live chill. And I remember that one was like a massive like thing that I held on to when it was tough, when it was hard. And just give me some of yours. Like, what were some things that you were like? I mean, I know we talked about obviously him, but what were some like maybe positive ones that you're like, I held on to this really tight because I knew like that's what got me through some of the tough moments.
I think I wasn't like I was pretty motivated money wise, but it was also like I told Oakland before the summer, I was like, if I make $20,000, I'll be happy, you know. And he always makes fun of me for that now, but I think it was just kind of like if I can get this money made, I can do whatever else I want in life. I can start whatever else I want in life. It can kind of jumpstart me to whatever I want to do, and I still don't know what I want to do. So it's like, let's do another summer. Let's see how far we can go with this. So I don't know if I have like a crazy big why, like money wise yet. Obviously, there's things I want. I want to provide for a family. I think that's a big why for me, future family. Being able to provide for them and just being ready to take that on is a huge thing. So that's a big why. But yeah, money wise, I don't know if I have something super specific.
Well, but I also think too, you have a why right there with like a family. Like
Yeah,
it's something big that's going to push you and be like, hey, this is what I want to do.
for sure.
And I think directly correlating something big like that you love, and then finding a way on like maybe a smaller scale of like, this is what this will build for my family, or this will build my life. I think those are great and just powerful ways to build a purpose or a vision or all that good stuff. So I think that's a great why. Cool. I really like that that segue. I hope people got a lot out of that. As far as like things you want to change. So I mean, obviously, first summer, over and done. We're getting closer to going out in the second. What are some things that you're like, I'm going to make these adjustments, and why?
Yeah, one adjustment is probably working on my pitch a lot more with other people. So before I started selling, I was like avoiding the meetings. Like
I kind of felt that from you, bro. I kind of felt that. I felt like you were like, yeah, no, like we'll when we get out there.
Yeah. And Oakland was like, you gotta go meet with Dawson before you come out. So I think I had one meeting with you before I went out, and I don't know why, but just like the role plays just scared the frick out of me. I was like, oh man, like I'm just gonna work on it in my car, do it alone. Oakland was like, try it with your roommates. I was like, Bryant and Hayden aren't gonna want to hear this, so I'm gonna just keep it to myself. So I think that's a big adjustment. Especially, it's gonna be a little easier just because of recruiting. I think I'll be able to work on that with my buddies that are gonna come out with me. So yeah, I think that's one adjustment that I was gonna try to make this year. And then also, when I'm out there, I want to try to listen to more of like podcasts on selling. And when I was out there, I was listening to just scary stories, my favorite music. So I mean, it kept me in a good headspace. But I think focusing more on that could help a little more too.
No, a good scary story though. I feel like that can definitely add to your sales repertoire.
Yeah.
Talk like, I mean, storytelling. It's a big part of sales.
That's true.
Which I definitely think adds, and I think you gotta have some of those fun things, like also like put in with all the other.
Oh yeah.
Like other stuff you're doing. It's funny when I was out selling, and this is gonna make me sound like. I grew up with the dinosaurs, but podcasts, I don't feel like they weren't as massive as they are today. And I don't think people were consuming them at the same level. So I actually, if I wanted to like learn about sales, I didn't have the opportunity to like, it kind of started later in my career that like podcasts became popular.
Yeah.
But the big thing that everyone was trying to get was like training videos.
Oh yeah.
And so that was like the in thing. And I would go around a lot of my friends that were selling all across the valley, and I'd be like, "Can I see your login?" And they'd be like, "No," and they wouldn't. And then sometimes I get a buddy be like, "Let me show you this one video from my manager." And I just remember like just writing down like, "I love that one line," or "Ooh, that," like just kind of looking for like a comedian like looks for jokes, like just like, "Oh, like that one's funny," or like you like just I think that art of like you're not gonna get. You're not going to find gold all at once. It's kind of like looking for dinosaur bones. Like you're going to go over a ton of area and like a ton of the different things you look into, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a training video, whether it's whatever
just
it is.
Pick out little nuggets and
you're going to find a little flake and you're just going to get a little bit better. But I'd say doing that practice will make you in the 0.01 percentile of salesmen that go out if you can do that over an extended period of time,
right?
Of the 8 months or the 6 months or however long you're off.
Yeah.
So
for sure,
that's cool. I guess one of the things I always love to talk to people about too is like great things they've read and great things that they've consumed that like kind of helps shape maybe personal development or sales or is there anything that you're like, I think this is a great thing for people to kind of like cling to or to absorb to just be great at the job.
The scriptures.
I love it.
Yeah, definitely the scriptures, the Book of Mormon. That's a huge thing. That's a huge part of my life. I always think I should read more, but any little bit you can get every day is really good. Another one for like the BRD reps and people that are going to come sell. Oakland's pitch document was like huge for me during the summer because I didn't read a ton of like other books during the summer. Like ABCs of Closing was really good. We would go over that in the meetings and stuff. I just got Sam Taggart's new book, Eat What You Kill, so I'm actually excited to read that too.
That'd be cool. I haven't read that one, so I need to get on that one as well.
Yeah. So I'll try that one. But Oakland's pitch document, or even what he's been telling me is just to write out my pitch, and just kind of keep going over that. It's sales is just really simple. Like, you can't overcomplicate it. You want to stick with the simple things. And I think those things all help you remember the simple things, especially like the scriptures and stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I think a lot of times if you look at like the modern American diet, like people are trying to do all these like crazy things to like
crazy
be
diets.
healthy and whatnot. And then if you look around the world, like some of the healthiest people are just, or there's a lot of places where people are really healthy just because
rice and beans.
Yeah, they eat simple, and I think there's a lot of truth in that in your work-life diet as well.
Oh yeah.
And so just figuring out those things that are, where's the trans fat? Where's the like what's in a plastic wrapper that I can throw out and replace it with something that's more natural? And I think the scriptures are a great. I think they're a great. Dude, just like when we talk about energy, I just think they give you a great set of eyes on, like, just the full picture of life.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it helped me get a healthy perspective. And I don't even think it taught, like, I think it taught me things in sales, but I think it taught me more just a better way to walk through life, which made sales a lot easier.
Yeah, like sales isn't everything. There's a bigger picture, obviously, but.
Yeah, no, I think it does a lot of that. Well, cool. As far as like maybe who's someone that's like starting out or maybe was sold last year that you're like, I think they're going to make a big jump in 2025.
A big jump.
Yeah. Is there anyone that you're like, I've kind of seen what they've been doing in the off season, or I feel that like when they get out there that like they're going to turn some heads? Is there anyone that you're like, and for what reason?
Yeah. Oh man. Trying to think. Well, first shout out my boys that are coming out with me: Gavin Hardy, Jake Collins, Tyler Angerbauer, and Silas. I think they're all gonna kick butt. So, I think they're gonna do really good. I think we'll see some really great rookies this year. I'm super excited to see, actually.
Yeah, Gavin actually was texting me recently about like, hey, I want to go out on blitzes. I kind of want to get stuff going. So I definitely think you guys got a good squad. And dude, hearing him on the karaoke on the cruise, I was like, dude, this kid's got some flavor and some and some energy to him. So I could totally agree with that one.
Yeah, another guy I would say is Ryan Larson, just because he got his kid now. So I think he's got the little extra motivation too with that.
Dude, Ryan,
he's gonna kick some butt.
Yeah, no, dude. Father Ryan's has been a trip, and what I love about Ryan is no matter what phase of life he's in, he's still like just fun loving.
He's still the same.
Big personality, just keeping life good. So
yeah.
Well, cool, Ty. Honestly, dude, thanks for coming on. I feel like we learned a lot throughout the pod, and I hope people really absorb this one. And I'm excited to see what you do this year. I'm predicting you high up on that leaderboard throughout the whole year. And when are you getting your start?
Sometime in March, probably mid-March or just right when we go out the 7th for that blitz. I'll probably just stay out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Well, dude, Bird Nation, Ty Bailey, a Titan, and thanks for being on, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you, Doss. Appreciate it.